Let there be light.
Gerald O'Driscoll commanded, then sat down at his desk, and lo and behold, there was a giant plasma screen almost the full length of one wall, instantaneously descended. This was accompanied by the simultaneous streaming of ethereal music, subtly combined with a soothing undercurrent of shy, girlish laughter. And all seemed to greet him each and every time he made a reappearance. It was a divine touch. Of course, this complete and utter self-glorification was merely the machine obeying Gerald's pre-programmed commands, to simulate a gesture of obsequious adoration, as soon as its facial recognition software registered his remarkably unprepossessing figure, shambling in through the door. Given his desperation for approval, this gross piece of synthetic self-worship temporarily satisfied a deep-seated desire, by turning itself on with all the heartfelt animation of a lover's smile. This was, after all, highly appropriate, there being no other lover in his life. Now aged 33, Gerald was a programming genius beyond compare, who could work miracles with just a single line of code. He had been obsessed with computers since childhood, and for the past decade had been employed as one of a host of experimental programmers for Universal International, a global conglomerate and world leader in the increasingly controversial field of cyber reality. And yet for most of that time, he had remained profoundly unfulfilled. The anonymity had galled. However, during the past 3 years, he had finally found his mission, and his life had suddenly radiated with meaning. He had been summoned forth from the bitter wilderness of back-office obscurity, and elevated to overall responsibility for an ultra-top-secret project, the development of a revolutionary new games console, which employed a processor so advanced that it would take gaming into a hitherto undreamt of realm. A realm so astounding and unique, that it would consign the current 666D innovations of Universal's chief rival, Satanic, to overnight obsolescence. Gerald's role was to oversee the evolution of operating software so powerful, that it would practically breathe life into the super-sophisticated piece of kit. Although he couldn't entirely predict the outcome once the prototype was activated, 10 or even 11 dimensions seemed entirely probable. Such was the brilliance of Gerald's vision that the project had rapidly expanded globally, to encompass the combined talents of 1,200 of the industry's top programmers, all working on discrete units of code in various far-flung corners of the planet. Most stressfully, they were all laboring under Gerald's overall command. It had felt as if the weight of the world had been put upon his shoulders. But now the clock was well and truly ticking, and the moment of creation would soon be upon them, so he began composing an email to the one other person, who was fully aware of the history they were about to make. To Zeus from Gerald O'Driscoll. Subject: urgent. The final algorithm deployed 6 days ago is about to unify the trillions of lines of separately developed computer code from all of our programmers across the entire globe. In a matter of minutes, we will be ready to go live. Come up at once. G.O.D. Click, and the summons was sent. That should bring the big lug running. As he waited for Zeus to make his way up to the 7th floor, Gerald allowed himself a few moments of smug satisfaction. They were about to unleash a cyber universe, into which Gerald had pre-programmed a seemingly impossible set of evolutionary jumps, and some very elusive laws of physics, that would keep the more intelligent of the hapless inhabitants periodically believing that they were on the verge of a great scientific breakthrough, but frustratingly never quite able to crack the code. The irony amused him. Furthermore, he was going to fill the simulated parallel universe with all the misery that his twisted genius could devise. If people thought things could be tough in this one, wait till they saw the lightning bolts of arbitrary injustice that he had in store for the deluded self-believing inhabitants of this new cyber reality. Gerald's self-satisfied musings were cut short as the athletic Zeus suddenly loomed large in the doorway.
"This is it,"
announced Gerald, eagerly reaching for the on switch. Zeus drew an impressively deep breath, then abruptly halted Gerald with an imperious raising of his hand.
"Such a historic occasion. Before we start, we should give it a name. I propose we call it the L.I.F.E Interactive Freewill Experience."
Gerald looked doubtful. It was too much of a mouthful. Also, he had to make it perfectly clear who was ultimately in charge.
"I'm thinking something more snappy, perhaps just a single word."
He pondered for a moment.
"What about life?"
"An acronym? Very clever. I like it."
It was perfect, all existence summed up in a single word. Zeus grinned. It was an excellent beginning. The two men exchanged one last long and very meaningful look, then Gerald pressed the on switch. There was a sudden surge of power, a mighty hum, swiftly followed by an array of lights, which encompassed all the visible colors of the spectrum, and which sent vertical bars of heavenly glory shimmering along the full length of the room. The gigantic plasma screen momentarily turned black, and then, without warning, there was a sudden blinding flash followed by an almighty explosion.
"Wow! Quite a bang."
"The bigger the better,"
retorted Gerald with a genuine sense of awe.
"but there's something missing. It lacks opening credits."
Even at a moment like this, his enormous ego doggedly came to the fore. Hastily, he typed in the title, which needed to be synchronized with that initial explosion, all to be enshrined in towering pillars of flame.
"Life, by God."
"Another acronym?
Mused Zeus.
Well, it's got a certain ring."
There was a second gigantic flash, much larger than the first, which bathed the entire room in a celestial golden glow, and which took Zeus quite by surprise. God smiled contentedly. He watched the screen, he noted the light and, with much satisfaction, he saw that it was good.